3-on-3. Jordan in deep. Jordan all the way. Score! He put his right arm out full length, held it, and brought it back as he flew by the basket. Sensational.
That's the most frightening thing a defender can see. You be the only guy back on defense, and he's coming at it.
Every sports league talks about growth like it's the ultimate goal. More fans in the seats, more people watching, more noise in the public space. But nobody really talks about what comes after that moment, when the numbers finally start moving. Because growth isn't the victory lap. Growth is when the pressure shows up. It's when systems that worked fine in a smaller world get pushed into situations they were never built for. That's the spot the WNBA is standing in right now. From the outside, it all looks smooth. Ratings climb, tickets don't sit around anymore, media companies that once barely paid attention suddenly want constant access. It looks like momentum. It looks like progress. Inside the league, it feels way different. It feels like things speeding up without time to adjust. Expectations jump overnight, even though the structure hasn't fully caught up yet. Success arrives early, but organization comes late. Attention shows up before everyone is on the same page. This is the stage where leagues stop dreaming about growth and start dealing with the wake of relevance. When a league is small, mistakes fade quickly. When a league gets bigger, mistakes stand out. And once a league becomes truly visible, every flaw gets examined up close, whether it's ready or not. When a league stays quiet for too long, people stop calling it patience. Silence starts to look planned. Delays feel less like timing issues and more like choices. And what used to pass as neutrality doesn't land the same anymore. This isn't about nitpicking or outrage, it's about scale. The WNBA has moved into a new lane. It's no longer viewed as a side project or a niche product. It's being measured like a real professional league with real standards attached. That's progress. But progress comes with weight. For years, the biggest fight was getting noticed. Now, attention isn't the problem, consistency is. When fans start tuning in regularly, they don't drift away quietly. When broadcasters invest real money in airtime, they expect things to run smoothly. When sponsors see long-term upside, they want stability they can trust. Growth doesn't just unlock opportunities, it removes escape routes. The league didn't just gain viewers, it took on responsibility. And responsibility usually shows up before comfort ever does. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it, Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark didn't invent this moment for the league. She sped it up. She compressed what would have taken years into a much tighter window, not through controversy or noise, but through steady attention that refused to fade. Once the initial buzz settled, games stopped feeling optional. They became must-watch moments, and the conversation stopped turning on and off. And at guard from Iowa wearing number 22, K coverage didn't slowly build anymore. It became assumed. That's what happens when interest starts changing habits instead of just boosting stats. Once behavior shifts, systems don't get a choice. They have to move with it. This is where confusion starts creeping in. People see uneven attention and jump straight to favoritism. They assume focus means intent, like the league is steering the spotlight on purpose. In reality, visibility wasn't selected, it was answered. The league reacted to demand, not emotion. What's happening isn't personal, it's structural. How monumental is the Caitlin Clark effect? Clark will make her regular season WNBA debut on Tuesday when the Indiana Fever take on the Connecticut Sun, and as expected, the game is already sold out. Ticket prices have skyrocketed. Courtside seats for this game are reselling for over $2,000 each. As for the rest of the league, the Las Vegas Aces and Washington Mystics have already moved to bigger venues to accommodate for the demand when Caitlin Clark comes to town. The Indiana Fever have also become the most followed WNBA team on Instagram. The Caitlin Clark effect is real. No league prepares for sudden acceleration. Planning is built around control, predictability, and slow progress. Acceleration breaks all three at the same time. Every organization thinks it'll handle growth cleaner than the ones before it. History says otherwise. The NBA didn't lock into stability the moment stars took over the spotlight. The NFL didn't grow without turbulence as money and power expanded. Global soccer didn't stay smooth once massive investment rushed in. Growth always hits first. Stability comes later. That uncomfortable phase isn't a collapse. It's the process playing out. Not perfection, but logic. People want to understand why things happen the way they do. When explanations fall short, frustration fills the gap. This doesn't mean the league is failing. It means the audience has matured. A growing fan base doesn't just cheer, it questions. And questioning is a sign of belief, not rejection. The real test is whether the league meets that curiosity with transparency or tries to outweigh it. Silence used to work. Now it just creates space for assumptions to grow. Every league reaches a moment where it can't rely on goodwill alone. The early supporters are still there, but now there's a wider crowd watching closely. That crowd doesn't fill in the blanks with loyalty. They fill them with expectations. This is where consistency becomes currency. Clear standards, clear messaging, clear priorities. Not because critics demand it, but because growth requires it. The league doesn't need to reinvent itself. It needs to reinforce what it already is, while adjusting to what it's becoming. That balance is hard, but it's necessary. Growth isn't something you outrun. You either meet it with structure or let it drag you forward unevenly. The direction from here will decide whether this era is remembered as a breakthrough or just a buildup. At this stage, perception starts moving faster than reality. Narratives form before explanations are ready. People don't wait to see how things unfold. They decide what something means almost instantly. That's the cost of visibility. The league isn't just being watched for what it does, but for what people think it represents. Every decision gets layered with meaning, even when the intent is simple, even when the move is practical. This is where communication becomes just as important as action, not to control opinions, but to prevent silence from doing the talking. When gaps appear, assumptions rush in to fill them. The challenge now isn't avoiding criticism. That ship has sailed. The challenge is setting the frame early enough that growth doesn't get misread as chaos or favoritism. Structure has to be visible, not just present. Relevance changes the scoreboard. Success isn't measured only by expansion or revenue anymore. It's measured by trust, consistency, and the ability to move forward without losing control of the story. This moment isn't about one season, one player, or one headline-grabbing controversy. It's about a league standing in front of the reality it spent years chasing. Attention didn't arrive by accident. Relevance wasn't handed out. They were earned step by step long before the spotlight got this bright. But relevance changes the rules. The WNBA doesn't get to move like a league still asking for respect. It has to move like one that already has it. That means decisions carry more weight. Silence carries meaning. Timing becomes part of the message, whether it's intended or not. This phase isn't loud on its own. It doesn't come with fireworks or clear victories. It shows up in internal choices, in negotiations, in how pressure is handled when there's no perfect answer. Growth always exposes weak points, not to embarrass, but to demand evolution. What happens next won't be decided by social media noise or viral moments. It will be shaped in rooms most people never see, by whether leadership chooses clarity over comfort, by whether alignment is built intentionally instead of assumed, by whether responsibility is embraced or quietly resisted. Every league reaches a point where belief turns into expectation. That's the line the WNBA has crossed. There's no going back to being overlooked. There's only moving forward with purpose. If you want to stay tapped into the real conversations, the context behind the headlines, and the moves that shape what comes next, follow Courtside Leaks and stay connected. This era is still being written, and the story is far from over. We've got every angle covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines. Managing growth doesn't mean tapping the brakes or shrinking the moment. It means matching the structure to the new reality. That adjustment shows up quietly, but matters a lot in how expectations are set, how exposure is shared, how pressure is absorbed internally instead of pushed outward, and how decisions are shaped before the public ever hears about them. This is the stretch where leadership actually gets tested, not during emergencies, but during transitions. Transitions decide whether growth turns into something sustainable or spirals into chaos. Pressure doesn't usually show up where people expect it. It's not in packed arenas or flashy metrics. It shows up behind the scenes, in scheduling, in coordination, in negotiations that suddenly carry way more weight than they ever did before. When a league grows faster than its systems, alignment stops being optional. Everything becomes urgent, and urgency changes how every conversation feels. Wow, you from beyond the logo and a little point afterwards. She knows how to spark the crowd. That's where the current CBA talks fit into the picture. Not as drama, not as conflict, as a signal. When growth outpaces the economic framework, labor discussions are unavoidable. Not because anything is broken, but because the foundation has shifted. Visibility is higher. Revenue expectations are different. Timelines have tightened. The CBA isn't a meltdown, it's a reset. Resets happen when a league outgrows the assumptions it was built on. Leagues that don't matter never have to renegotiate their future. Leagues that don't grow never feel pressure to balance competing interests. Alignment only becomes necessary when something real is at stake. The fact that these conversations are happening at all says everything. The WNBA has moved into a new level of relevance. That doesn't make the process smooth, but it makes it meaningful. How this moment is handled will stretch far beyond one season. The real risk isn't disagreement. The real risk is pretending nothing has changed. Acting like growth hasn't raised the stakes is how misalignment starts. That's how trust erodes and opportunities slip away. The leagues that struggle long-term aren't the ones that face tension head-on. They're the ones that pretend it isn't there. Growth doesn't reward patience first. It demands honesty. The next phase of this league won't show up with a breaking news alert or one big announcement. It will arrive quietly. It shows up through reset expectations, through more intentional decisions, through leadership choosing clarity over comfort, even when that choice feels heavy. That's how eras are actually built, not through single moments, but through alignment over time. The WNBA didn't wander into this position by accident. It earned relevance, it earned attention, and now it's earned responsibility. That part can't be avoided anymore. Wanting growth is easy. Living with it is the real challenge. Knowing how to manage what you asked for is where leagues get tested. When growth hits, should stability be protected at all costs? Or should disruption be accepted as part of the process? There's a difference between momentum and control. Momentum moves on its own. Control has to be built. Right now, the league has plenty of momentum, but control is still catching up. This is where outside noise gets louder. Every move is read as a message. Every pause gets interpreted. When attention is high, even normal growing pains start looking like statements. That's not fair, but it's real. The league isn't just managing games anymore. It's managing perception, timing, and trust at the same time. Those layers didn't exist at this level before. They weren't required. Growth changes the job description. Leadership stops being about maintenance and starts being about direction, not reacting to every voice, but understanding which ones matter and why. That's the challenge that comes with relevance. Fans don't just watch anymore. They track patterns. They compare decisions. They notice inconsistencies that would have gone unseen a few years ago. That's what happens when casual interest turns into daily investment. With that investment comes expectation.